So things aren't going good for Team Arrow there. No, not even a little bit. But this is my recap and reaction to episode 18 of Arrow, Public Enemy. The episode starts off with Misao dressed as an arrow, shooting and killing the mayor with an arrow. And the next arrow is aimed for Felicity, but Ray jumps in the way. Seeing the mayor of a major city killed by an arrow was the last straw, and Captain Lance announces a citywide manhunt for the arrow and his team. Captain Lance wants Laurel to tell him who the arrow is, but she refuses, but he says he'll find a way to take him down without her. In other news, Roy and Thea's relationship seems to be back on, so high fives all around. Ray wakes up in the hospital with Felicity by his side. Ray's doctors say that Ray's injuries have left him very weak, and have left him with a blood clot that could kill him at any moment. But Ray is prepared for such a situation with some nanotech that could perform a procedure that would save his life. But the hospital won't allow him to do that because using semi-experimental procedures is against the hospital's rules. Later that night, Oliver finds Nessa hoping to get some help finding where the League is hiding out in Starling. She gets a lead and Team Arrow heads off. When they arrive, Misao and a few more League soldiers greet them, with a short but intense battle that ends with Team Arrow getting the better of the League soldiers. Raish appears out of the darkness and tells Oliver to accept his offer or spend the rest of his days in a cage. This is when a Starling City police helicopter shines its light on Team Arrow, telling them to surrender, but they make a run for it. It's a pretty chaotic few minutes as everyone tries to escape. They succeed, but everyone's a bit shaken up, but they manage to regroup back at the Arrow Cave. Back at the police station, Captain Lance is kidnapped by Misao and brought to Raish for a face-to-face meeting, where Raish tells him that Oliver is the Arrow. Back at the hospital, Felicity's mom distracts the doctor so Felicity can inject him with his nanotech. He kinda dies for a second or two, but it turns out it's just a side effect of the nanotechs and they seem to be doing their job. Back at the nightclub, Roy and Thea are talking when Oliver joins the conversation, but it's short-lived, as the club is raided by the Starling City Police. Oliver makes a quick getaway and makes it to Diggle's apartment, where they watch Captain Lance give a press conference on TV, where he tells the world that Oliver Queen is the Arrow. Out of options, Oliver turns himself in, with Team Arrow arriving a little while later. Laurel is able to get them a few minutes alone with him, where he says he's made a deal with Captain Lance, and by turning himself in, the rest of the team receives immunity. That doesn't sit well with the team, and they talk about what to do next at the Arrow Cave. Roy says that they must act regardless of consequences, as it's what Oliver would do for them. Across town, an armored police truck drives Oliver to prison, with Captain Lance riding in the back to really drive home the point that he's failed to save his city. The car comes to a sudden stop, however, when someone dressed as Arrow jumps on top of the truck. He claims that Captain Lance has the wrong man. The man unmasks himself, and it's Roy, who's going to take the blame for Oliver. So that was a pretty high drama episode. I mean, the episode was called Public Enemy, so I'd expect it not to go good, but I mean, it really went bad. Which is also one of the things I like about the show as a whole. Their issues seem to carry on over from one episode to another. They aren't just solved in 40 minutes. Plus commercials. I did assume that Team Arrow would just break Oliver out, then go into hiding, so a good surprise that Roy is taking the fall now, but that doesn't really solve the issue, it just gives them more problems, as I'm sure they're going to break Roy out now. Well, let me know what you thought of the episode, and while you're here, check out some of the other videos we have on the channel. We'd really appreciate it.